Alright guys, what's going on? Your boy AK back here, and I finally managed to get back into recording videos, because work has been going absolutely crazy and booming and etc etc, so all the good stuff. Of course, not without its drawbacks, but everything is still fine and we are all hunky-dory. So that's why the long absence, just really not much time to really put into organizing a proper video for you, but I decided to put in this kind of filler and give some of my thoughts about this Jurassic World Camp Cretaceous. And let's get into this. Before we do, make sure that you're aware this will contain spoilers, so if you have not seen it yet and you would like to still be able to see it without being spoiled, do not watch the video yet. Come back to it later when you have seen the actual show. And of course, this is simply my perceptions, my opinions. I've taken some notes based on what I have been able to pick up. If you think that I haven't picked up a few things, let me know in the comments. We can discuss that. And let's get into this, guys. So we are greeted by this image of T-Rex roaring and the usual stuff, which is okay. And by the way, spoiler ahead as well, we do not have T-Rex, as far as I remember, actually appearing in the show. At least I don't remember. Even if it was very brief, to the point that we don't even actually properly see it, aside from in the beginning, like this intro, and also there is in the story itself, within like a game or something like that, they're doing it. That's where T-Rex appears as well. But anyway, not to worry about that. Let's get into a few things. I want to get over some characters, because that's where the main point usually is, and that's where I have both pros and cons. I'm not even gonna go into the dinosaur designs or anything like that. I've ranted about that so many times that I think that's pretty much pointless at this point. And we all have our own opinions about it, and let's just move on to the main parts. So these are the first 5 characters that get introduced. And if I remember correctly, from left to right we have Yasmin, or Yaz, I think they call her in the show, who is like an introverted gym girl, which is very interesting. Then we have this one, next is this social media sort of obsessed Instagram kind of girl who likes to, you know, get views, likes, and all those things. Basically typical seeking attention kind of personality. Then we've got the one in the middle, the black guy is Darius. He is, the other girl's name is Brooklyn, by the way. This guy is Darius. This is probably our main, I could say he's the main protagonist, because of just how much he has been given in terms of writing, which is brilliant in my opinion, and probably the best thing about this show. Seriously, if anything, it's worth only watching just for him, because I think he is actually, for a kid character in a Jurassic franchise, he's actually pretty well written in my opinion. In fact, better than I think every other kid character has been done, because of how it was implemented, and we will do some comparisons later on. Then the next one, this girl is called Sammy, and I don't see the point of why her character was even here, which I will get into later as well. And then we have the last one here, but still, well, I mean, at least not the last actually, because another one will get introduced shortly. This one is named Ben. He's like your typical geek who is very, you know, I think he's a bit, you know, awkward in terms of social interactions. He doesn't do well in those situations. He's not brave. He's the very kind of cowardly type, which I believe, absolutely. There have been people like that I've met in my life too, so I can totally understand where this guy may be coming from. But anyway, let's go quickly to shot number 2 to introduce our final and 6th main character of this show. And that's this rich Asian guy. I presume he's Japanese. His name is Kenji. And yeah, so he's like trying so hard to be the alpha male of the group, so to speak. And yeah, so those are our main characters. Now, let's get into few things I wanted to discuss about the characters. So, I want to start with Darius. And I gotta say, I am very pleased with how his character was handled, how he was written. He has, for once, he actually represents, what many people as kids were like when, those who liked dinosaurs, with those kind of things. In fact, he's very, he's one of those who has a good balance of understanding of when to use his leadership skills, which he does quite well, by the way. He doesn't initially, but he kind of picks up on it, so there is actually a good growth sort of pattern here in his character. And he also shows that, he's very... one flaw, perhaps, and this is one of those things that it's a flaw, but it's a very natural flaw and relatable flaw, that a lot of things that he tries to do and using and displaying his knowledge is partially to do with him wanting other people around him to like him. Which is really good, because that's a very strong thing that everybody has at one point struggled. So it's the relatability point on Darius's character hits very well, in my personal opinion. I think this character is very well done. And of course, he has a lot of background explored. We see his relationship with his father, which is so amazing. I was actually really pleased to see that they decided to introduce this kind of arc, because I noticed that a lot of things Hollywood tries to just generally destroy the image of fathers overall. Social media, Hollywood, SJWs, they all like to destroy this kind of, the father figure overall, which is very good that they didn't do it here with this character. In fact, it's the opposite. They are actually showing how much he picked up and learned from his father. And his father was diagnosed, I believe it was cancer or something like that, and he was dying, and seeing them basically interact and talk, and how, they were trying to encourage them, he was trying to encourage Darius to be strong, and to not give up, just generally very good stuff, Everybody who has this kind of experience, this kind of thing, will definitely be able to relate to that, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. It was amazing. So, and of course, Darius's love for dinosaurs and passion for the subject is another thing that is very relatable, and I think they did very well on his character. And one of the things that I definitely liked about his particular character here is that he wasn't being treated like a token diversity hire character. He actually was properly developed and written, and it would be really interesting. Yeah, and it's kind of a shame that they didn't really... Overall, the show actually kind of sucks, to be honest. But the character of Darius is somebody that I think would have been great if they had him, together with like Owen, and that crew, or even better if maybe from earlier installments, if they had kid characters written like that a bit more. Because to compare a little bit more with other installments of the kid characters, Darius's character was just, the way it was done, it was also very appropriate, because he is the center of this whole thing, and that's why it was so good, and it felt organic. In Jurassic World 2015, for example, kid characters felt completely out of place. You could have just removed them entirely and nothing would have changed. They were just completely pointless, in my opinion. There was no need to have them, but for some reason the franchise insists on always doing it, because they think that if they don't include kid characters, then kids are not going to be able to relate, because representation or whatever, stupid fucking Hollywood logic. That's just how it is. Because most of them don't have a clue what they're doing anyway these days. They don't understand what's going on, they don't understand reality, and they're out of touch with it completely. But in any case, this is how they done it right. So I will give credit where it's due. This one has been done very well, especially this character. This particular character, overall. Now let's go to the other characters a little bit. So, I was quite happy with Yasmin's character. That's the girl on the very left in the gray sports suit. I liked that they actually portrayed her very, I don't know, like, would you say timid or just laid back? I would say very laid back. She's clearly an introvert. She doesn't really like to go out all out, she's minding her own business. I would imagine that since she is a gym rep, she probably goes to the gym at the times when it's not very busy, where there's not going to be a lot of people. So guys are not going to be staring, nobody's going to try to come up to her or or say something, whatever. And, just generally not be around too many people, because introverts just generally are not very people's persons in that sort of way. They, they expand energy when there's too many people around, and they regenerate energy when they are by themselves, which is why they try to be more to themselves than they would otherwise. So, and I like how she eventually comes through and takes up some really good sort of determined positions about certain things during the show. And she did very well to help Darius's character as well, a little bit, I think. And I kind of wish that more was done for her, but I expect that they are gonna do that in the next season. So, the next character here we're going to touch on is Brooklyn, the pink-haired chick. And I liked few things about her, and some things I didn't like, not because I didn't like the character, but I didn't like how she was written and why they gave her that sort of part. It just felt so forced and unnecessary. And I will get into this in a second. Now, basically, one of the things that I really just cringed at was when there was a scene. I don't believe I have taken a screenshot out of this, but let's just take a different screenshot just because, why not? We'll get to these two in a moment, by the way. And so they ended up, basically, these three, the ones on the left, Darius, Kenji, and Brooklyn, they ended up in a raptor enclosure. So, yeah, somehow, for some reason, these two guys got, punished, basically. They got told off and punished and etc. But she just got off the hook completely. This is not a good message to send, and here is why. And this is one of those things that absolutely just kind of stood out to me. Maybe some other people who watched it didn't notice, but for some reason it's almost like they showed it that, yeah, if you're a girl and you're popular, you get off the hook. And if you're somewhat pretty as well, that, yeah, you get off the hook. And you can get away with doing pretty much anything. But if you're a dude, yeah, no. Like, no way. And I get that sometimes in certain situations, in some, certain family dynamics, it gets that way, and that's okay. But again, it's a totally different situation here. And in this case, I think that all three of them should have equally gotten the same punishment, especially if we are trying to imply that, we should all be equally responsible for things and face up the consequences all the same, rather than discriminated for one and the other and whatever. That didn't really land well with me. And the next part that didn't land well with me at all was when there was a scene between, I think, Kenji and Darius. I think they were having a go at one another over something, and she just went, "Oh, so that's what toxic masculinity looks like." And that's a telltale sign that a feminist was writing this line and this script. Because that's a feminist talking point. People just don't use these stupid words in real life. That's the classic problem of Hollywood, being just completely out of touch with reality. People in real life don't relate to these things. Stop trying to shoehorn your stupid identity politics to the general audience, especially to kids who are going to be using this in any way to model, themselves. Because it's ridiculous. It's just absolutely 100% an attempt to basically downgrade, the masculinity, because, they had an argument, so therefore it's toxic masculinity. But then when the girls later on down the line have a go at one another for whatever reasons, yeah, they don't call it toxic femininity, do they? Yeah, of course they won't. So And my point is that these things overall should just be kept out of it. There's absolutely no need to insert this nonsense. It's a typical feminist talking point. Everybody knows what it is. Nobody is fooled. People are not stupid. So please stop trying to shoehorn this crap in our franchises, Hollywood. Just stick with the lore, stick with the characters, try to build them organically and naturally, and stop trying to, put in things that are just not relatable to the general majority of audiences that you get. You're supposed to cater to your audience and to people who are going to support your products. Don't cater to SJWs. So that's one of the things I didn't like why they gave her this character, because otherwise she's actually not been a bad character. She actually has a very interesting, line of development of herself, which I would say it's not as strong as Darius is. I mean, there's no character that I think had a stronger development than Darius did, in my opinion. But some of them, at least, they actually kind of held up well, and Brooklyn's character held up quite well. But this line just completely destroyed her character, and it felt really bad to kind of see this being inserted, and obviously, yeah, bad move, Hollywood. Anyway, this whole thing with identity politics kind of persists in different ways as well later on, and I will get to that in a second. So, yeah, these two characters. So we've got Roxy on the left and we've got Dave on the right. First of all, this band that he's wearing on the head looks stupid. It's stupid as fuck. His character is a clear indication of how they're trying to basically... And they basically made Roxy the so-called power chick, in their dynamic, while Dave is a complete wimp. And not only that, but also Dave's character is just totally, he's so beta, he's so weak and soy. He actually, after he saved the kids from the raptor pen, he started throwing up. My question is, what are you doing in the Jurassic world as a, somebody who, supposed to keep people safe? What the hell are you doing there? Are you just, my god, I can't. It's basically, look at him. This guy is supposed to be the one who's, supposed to save you, apparently. This face is, yeah. It's a sad situation, guys, to quote Elton John here. It's just one of those classic examples of let's just demasculate this character and let's make the other chick look like she's an ultimate badass, because we cannot just give, other characters. Basically what they're doing is they're offending and insulting females by this. Typical Hollywood for you. They claim diversity points, they claim that they are doing it for representation, but what they're doing is they cannot just elevate all others because they don't have the creative currency in their heads to do it. What they do is they demasculate and they completely devalue everyone else, so that and then at that expense they they elevate the others. That's how they do it. They bring down this character, Dave, the best way possible, to the point where he just becomes so cringe and just so unbearable and insufferable that you just cannot really, stomach him. He's just so annoying, and the jokes that he makes are just so cringe as fuck. I couldn't fucking take it. I just wanted to smash my fucking monitor because this guy is so annoying. He's just like a typical, oh my god, I can't. It's like, I cannot stomach this shit. And this is one of those things that, why? Why can you not just make him normal and still have the badass chick? Why did you not take references and notes from the previous movies? Especially from the first movie. I'm not even going to go to the second movie as much, because in second movie there is some stupid bullshit going on with characters as well, which I didn't like. But in the first film, well, we've got Ellie. Hello. Did she actually, do you remember Ellie ever, bringing down her other co-stars, of the show, of the movie? I don't think so. The only time she talked down on somebody, and that was rightfully deserved, by the way, was John Hammond, because John Hammond was being an absolutely ignorant prick. He didn't have his priorities straight, and she just reminded him what was important. In this one scene in the cafeteria, completely owned him. And guess what? She didn't have to demasculate his character. They didn't have to demasculate Ian Malcolm or Alan Grant or Robert Muldoon or anyone else, to be able to give her a good role to perform. She performed brilliantly as one of the protagonists of the movie. So I don't understand why they could not just do something similar here and give this to either something more meaningful or just, they could have just removed them entirely and nothing would have changed. They're just completely useless. The other thing about them is how they left the kids in the camp by themselves. I mean, you cannot leave kids by themselves. You do realize that if they are not, left, they have to be supervised by an adult, especially if you're in this kind of place where emergencies can happen. There has to be somebody who is trained, who can supervise over them, and that would have been basically like straight away fired if, of course, because it happens at the same time as 2015 movie, they all got fired anyway. But do you know what I mean? Like, if that didn't happen, then they should have been fired immediately after that. That was completely so wrong for them to do that. And yeah, that was just so stupid. I just didn't like his character at all. He was just so annoying. He kept just saying these dumb things, and it was so corny and forced, and her behavior sometimes as well was really forced, to be honest, but she's kind of pretty. AK would smash. But yeah, that's all I can say about these two. But yeah, they're completely useless. You could just completely remove them and nothing would have changed. Now, let's go to this character, Sammy's character. This is one of the other problems I have. Her character pretty much was not only annoying because she just wouldn't shut the fuck up at some times, because she just, I don't know. I don't like it when people don't know when to shut up. I hate that trait. When people just talk and they just blabble. Like, shish. Like, learn some basic manners and understanding of tact. I cannot understand for the life of me how this is not something that you learn from since you are 5 years old, how to behave, how to conduct yourself. And she was always this kind of really nosy and annoying, and I hate people like that. I cannot stand people like that. And of course she comes through and becomes very nice and caring and sweet in some cases, so that was nice. She kind of helped Yasmin to get out of her shell a little bit. That was kind of nice. But somehow she magically manages to tame Sinoceratops during one of the scenes, which was rampaging just 10 seconds ago, and somehow she just pulled, the whole how to train your dragon cliche, and yeah, everything worked out because she's just brilliant, I guess. And then, of course, we find out that she apparently turns out to be a corporate spy. Like, what? You make a kid a corporate spy? Like, this is new. And in this case, I was thinking, you know what? You could just completely remove her character and maybe just reallocate some of the traits to other characters just to make them a little bit more meaningful and focus on those other characters instead. I don't know. But no, of course not, because they had to have representation. So if we have 6 characters, we have to have 3 boys and 3 girls. We cannot have 5 where there's going to be 2 girls and 3 boys. That's just not possible. No, bad. Because we know Hollywood's got their head up their asses. So that's how it is. Because, they listen to all the wrong people when it comes to understanding, engaging their audience. And we will get into that part as well later on, by the way, in terms of understanding what the audience wants. Now, what else? Yes, now let's get into Kenji. Now, his character actually has good potential. I really liked how he was very respectful with Darius. He really helped him, I think, to kind of just gain that confidence, So he's basically, he was initially, you can tell he's just a typical narcissistic, cocky twat, pretty much. And then you kind of find out that there is a good premise for this, and he's like from a single father family, I believe, and his father's always working, so he's pretty much left to his own devices, you know. So it's kind of, you know what I mean. He hasn't really gotten it all that well, you know, and he's obviously projecting and compensating a lot. But the way he redeems himself, in my opinion, is that he helps Darius, and basically, instead of being cocky and all that, he actually uses his confidence to help Darius gain his confidence, you know? Because he understands that he doesn't have the brains, you know, to really solve the problems and the problem-solving skills like Darius has. So what he does instead is he realizes that it might be better to help Darius, you know, so that he can, you know, and because Darius gets on with everyone else better than Kenji does, so it's easier for Darius then that way to kind of rally people together so that they can work together and solve the problems that they're facing. Okay? You with me? So yeah, I think this is where he came through as a character. And I believe he can come through later on as well, because there's going to be a second season. Which I'm probably going to be, obviously, taking a piss out of, but let's hope that they're going to do some good things too. Because they did some good things here as well. So, but anyway, Kenji's character overall, I think he could have had a bit more to him, but I did like whatever he did put out. I did think it was important and it was good. And Brooklyn's character as well, in case you forgot, it's this girl on the left in the pink. She actually came through to Darius quite nicely too, in a way that they both sort of had a heart-to-heart conversation at one point where she admitted to him, and they kind of both sort of figured that out, that they were doing completely different things for the same reason, which was they wanted people and other people to like them. And that was her main problem. That was her challenge for Brooklyn's character, was to overcome her need and dependency on people's opinions about her from the outside. And I think she had a bit of a thing going on when it came to slight maybe disillusionment about this whole, you know, popularity on social media things, which is actually not a bad thing. As I said, the only thing that ruined her character was them giving her this feminist talking point line, which was just so stupid and just shouldn't be there. Anyway, sorry. I just need to slap myself a little bit so I don't get into rant mode again. Anyway, otherwise I really like how they done that. Of course, most of the characters, they seemed to be mostly complimenting Darius rather than standing on their own 2 feet, in my opinion. It didn't seem to me like they were really in it on themselves. So I think we still can pretty much safely say that Darius is the central guy around here, in the center of this whole thing, and he keeps it together. If it wasn't for Darius, it would be game over, basically, for all of them. It would be completely game over. They would not go anywhere without Darius, in my opinion. But so yeah, Darius is my man. Anyway, let's get to the last character, and that's the character of Ben, the kid in the green. Well, that's the thing. There is really not a whole lot to him until very last scenes where he came through and overcame his fear. I think that was his main challenge that he was trying to overcome, and by basically putting himself out there in danger for the sake of, you know, helping and protecting the group. And I think he did it very well. And the funny thing is, though, this was the chance where they could have completely, in a positively way, surprised me as a viewer, where we thought that his character gets killed. We'll talk about this little baby. By the way, yes, speaking of, he befriended this baby Ankylosaurus and called her Bumpy because of her asymmetrical things, horns, whatever, on the skull. So I don't know about the whole, look. Obviously they're making it look like it's a puppy, but because that's just gonna be a toy. I bet if you Google this, there's gonna be toys coming up, and that's what it was for. It's just for toys. We know that it's for toy companies straight away. That's what it is. And not that I really minded, but yeah, it didn't feel very believable, I guess, because I don't think that's quite how, just like reptiles, they don't work that way, and dinosaurs are reptiles. So yeah, it didn't feel like it was very organic. If it was a puppy, then yeah. If it was, but baby dinosaur, I don't think so. Not like, they basically just made it a puppy in a dinosaur skin, pretty much. Then of course we had the Carnotaurus, yeah, that's all good, we'll get to that a few times. And we had the Brachiosaurus, which we'll get to as well, and Indominus, which we'll get to as well. But, and this is a different topic, which we will get to as well, I'm just trying to find the thread, yes, there we are. And this is where basically was the scene where we expected that Ben was gonna get saved by Darius and co, but he didn't. He got dropped from the train, from the monorail into the jungle. But then, and I was thinking, you know what, this may be a really good way for them to redeem all the previous things that they kind of did wrong in this show. And at the end we find out that Ben somehow survives the fall. So yes, apparently somebody just cast a feather fall spell on every single character here, because it's not the first time we see them fall from a huge height, and they just, at best, they just get up and, walk all dusty and dirty, but they recover like nothing broken, nothing, scratched, nothing, just all good. So yeah, somebody definitely cast a feather fall and stone skin spell, probably. I'm just doing some Might and Magic and Heroes of Might and Magic references here. But anyway, yeah. And this scene as well, that really annoyed me, because Darius was the one trying to save him, but for some reason, these guys here that you see, they only showed up after Ben fell. They were there in the next carriage. They could have easily just jumped over. Easily. The same way Darius did, because Darius managed to do it, so I don't see why they couldn't. And they could have helped him to pull him up. It almost felt like they just did it on purpose, just so, because plot demanded it. I don't know. And that's what I don't like about it. It's so dumb in these situations, which is why it also ruined this whole idea that they almost subverted a trope, which was an absolute parasite of this franchise for all these years. And they still decided to not let the Ben's character die, which would have actually served a very nice further development for every other character to sort of explore later on down the line how they would have dealt with loss of Ben, because he basically would have sacrificed himself, to save them, whatever. That would have been nice, but missed opportunity in my opinion. That would have really elevated, the perception of the kid characters in movies like that. But again, missed opportunity, Hollywood, shame on you. And that's the other thing, that we kind of had this from the get-go, that when we have kid characters, we already know that, okay, nothing's gonna happen to them, they're all gonna be fine, nobody's gonna touch them, basically, pretty much. And when I saw Ben basically getting pulled by these pteranodons, and they, and he almost gets dropped, and then he does get dropped, to my surprise, because they made it look like he was gonna pull through, that they were gonna pull him up. Well, he was gonna pull him up, because other people just stood there completely useless, not helping Darius at all. But yeah, I thought that Darius was gonna pull him up, and no, he didn't. He eventually slipped, and I was like, wow, they actually did this. They actually did it. Like, I was just sitting there willing to pretty much forgive them all other misgivings, aside from maybe identity politics, and that's it. But I was willing to forgive them some other things and parts where it felt like it was totally boring and nonsense the whole time. And, well, dude, I was disappointed to see that they didn't, they still insisted on keeping it like this, and even more so, they added another drawback, because another fall, for some reason, this kid survived. Oof. Yeah. So let's go back to a few other things I wanted to mention. And of course, yeah, we have Carnotaurus as one of the so-called villainous dinosaurs, which was alright. I mean, I kind of enjoyed the scenes with the Carnotaurus, I guess. It was just a typical JP or JW style kind of encounters, nothing unusual about that. Nothing revolutionary, nothing crazy, just usual stuff, but except with it, instead of everything else that we usually see, like T-Rex or whatever, it was just Carnotaurus. With Brachiosaurus, the reason I brought this up is because we see Brachiosaurus gets taken down by Indominus Rex, and it doesn't fight back. Yeah, so I hate this stupid trope that they're doing, and not for the first time either, that sauropods for some stupid reason don't fight back. Are you fucking joking me? How can this thing not do anything to even try to fight back? I mean, good enough, they had, in 2015 they had Ankylosaurus try to fight back. But for some reason Apatosaurus didn't fight back, which we didn't see the fight itself, but okay, fair enough. But then we see in front of us that Brachiosaurus just gets taken down and that was it. But we don't even see an actual fight happening, which would have been nice if they did this kind of dino fight. I wouldn't mind that, That would have been quite okay to watch and see a sauropod actually try to stand up for itself, to this bully of Indominus Rex, whatever. And yeah, I'm not a fan of I-Rex generally, so to me it was kind of like, whatever. So yeah, there was a scene with the car chase. There were other scenes where they were trying to evade it and try to outsmart it, which they did, because these kids apparently are just brilliant, naturally. And then there was a scene in the cave with glowing Parasaurolophuses. Yeah. I mean, I get that they probably just introduced a special gene, and I believe they even go into this slightly. I think they do at least mention it in the show, that there is something that they used as a genome for this to be possible. But it makes it, I don't know, like this whole thing, this is what I don't like about it, is that it cheapens this whole process, this whole premise. It makes it too cliche to the point that they can just do anything and nothing impresses you anymore. They pretty much are drying this whole franchise milk completely. This whole cow is being dried completely, They're just, I don't know, man. I mean, if you like it, that's okay, I guess. I'm not gonna hold it against you, but I personally didn't, and that was kind of a put off for me. And what else was there? Well, I guess that's it, pretty much. I'll see if there's anything else, but yeah, of course, I mean, ending. The ending is another thing. Now, the ending, I kind of feel like they didn't learn a whole lot from the criticism from Jurassic Park 3. And the reason I say this is because they had, Eric there by himself, survived somehow, which to me felt absolutely ridiculous. And now they have a whole group of kids who are gonna be going through pretty much the same trope. And it's just another excuse for them to just have more kids among the dinosaurs, because apparently there's no other way it's gonna be relatable to the younger audience. And just generally the whole thing overall, the jokes, the humor, the dialogue, it feels like it's so, in some cases, it's just so dumb to the point where it almost makes me feel like they're disrespecting their target audience. I mean, I will tell you right off the bat, back in the days when I was a kid, when I watched, cartoons like Land Before Time or Secrets of the Nymph, and those are brilliantly written. Or if you have good comic relief examples, look at Timon and Pumbaa, or Sebastian from The Little Mermaid, or what's his name? These two, the talking clock and the candle holder from basically Beauty and the Beast, the original one, obviously. And yeah, not the shitty remake, obviously, but look at those ones, for example. Or just so many different cartoons back then that had good comic relief characters and were well written and were actually very clever. And now they're trying to dumb everything down. It's almost like Hollywood thinks that kids are just stupid, you know, and that insults my intelligence as well and makes me very angry. Yeah, so pardon me, been talking for a lot now, and got my coffee here as well, so I need to take some water after this so I don't dry up completely here, because my throat is gonna be killing me after this. But anyway, overall, I will say that, I don't know, I would probably give it about maybe 4 out of 10, because the only reason why I think that it came through is because there are some character moments that really picked up, and they're only momentarily, and generally the whole show just feels like you're sitting there like, okay, so when, you know, you are almost just sitting there, just you could fast forward like half of it at least, and you would not even see any difference, you know. So I felt like they really did a pretty bad job on this, personally. It came off quite condescending in some cases as well, and just overall not really that great of a product, in my opinion, considering how much better they could have done it if they really, really tried. And that's what it gave me this impression. It gave me the impression that they just didn't try. They just weren't trying at all. Just put out another corporate product expecting everybody to consume it because it has a Jurassic World stamp on it. That's all it is. So, but I'm not falling for that shit. So, screw you, Universal. Anyway, let me know how you felt about it if you watched the show. Did you like the characters? Who was your favorite character? Do you agree with everything I say, or do you disagree? And of course, remember, we can have different opinions and we can still get on and have a drink. And with that said, thanks very much for watching. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and support the channel. I will try to get back to you as soon as possible, because I've got some more news coming up, a new campaign on Indiegogo coming up again, after my success for the Allosaurus model kit as well. And yeah, lots of stuff to do, guys. So also make sure that you subscribe to my second channel where I upload gaming content. I've only recently created it. It's on my main channel page, you will see it. It's called Rex Plays, so get into that as well if you want. And yeah, have fun, have a great day, and speak soon.